Jennifer Flowers will not be attending the debate tomorrow night, but Donald Trump was using the tweet yesterday really to mock an effort by Hillary Clinton and her campaign to really distract attention from where the American people are going to be focused tomorrow night.
Is your goal of this debate is to get under his skin? Is that why you gave Mark Cuban a ticket right in the front row?
No, I think Mark Cuban is one of the business leaders who was never involved in partisan politics, who's endorsed Hillary.
Well, he's also one of the loudest Trump critics. Mark Cuban, it appears, is going to be at the debate, perhaps in the front row, and likely to try to get under Donald Trump's skin. However, Jennifer Flowers of infamous 1992 presidential campaign history is not going to be here, according to the campaign. We'll start there. Let's bring in our panel. Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. David Catanese, senior politics writer for U.S. News and World Report. And Mercedes Schlapp, columnist for the Washington Times. All right, Steve, the back and forth, the mind games, it's all kind of setting up for tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the pre-debate fight rituals that you see before a big boxing match or MMA fight. Look, I mean, John Podesta's claim is ridiculous. Of course that's why Mark Cuban is here.
Just because he's a businessman?
He's been loud, he's been tweeting at him, he's been making fun of Trump, he's been going after him. Of course that's why he's coming. And it's a bit rich, frankly, for the Clinton team to show so much concern and frustration that Trump invited Jennifer Flowers when they invited Mark Cuban first. And you hate to get into the he started it, she started it, because it feels more like, you know, a childhood fight than it does a presidential campaign. But they don't really have much grounds to complain here.
I saw that debate in high school, I think, where they sent somebody in there.
You said the ex-girlfriend.
Look, the Clinton campaign's showing their cards. They're trying to lay the bait for Trump, and he responded already via Twitter. I think tomorrow it will be about, can both of them avoid their stereotype, right? And for Trump, that means not saying something crazy or stupid for 90 minutes. For Hillary, she can't tell a lie. That would be pretty provable. So I think they both
can't cough.
Well, right.
I mean, isn't it like the pressure is on this 90 minutes of...
I think so, and look, that's going to show some stamina from both of them from an intellectual and a physical standpoint. And, you know, I think, we were talking about this before he came on here, but I think they are going to do everything to try to restrain Trump. I think Kellyanne Conway is probably in a room with him tonight saying, don't take that bait. Bite your tongue and stay on the message we prepared.
All right, a couple of polls here. How important are the presidential debates to your decision? Extremely or quite important, 34%. Somewhat or not important, 65%. Then a tracking poll. How likely is it that you will watch the first presidential debate? You have very likely, somewhat likely, not too likely, and not at all, but it adds up to a significant portion of this poll, and that tracks with other polls as well. And then take a look at our special report average of recent polls. It's about 5 of the most recent national polls, and it has Clinton up about 3.6 nationally, but obviously, Mercedes, it depends on the poll. This is an average of recent polls.
Sure, this is the Super Bowl of debates, and I think for the most part, when you look back, debates might not have been the game changers, but I think in this particular case, the undecided voters, the Gary Johnson voters, they're going to be looking at this debate tomorrow night because they need to be convinced, can I vote for either one of these two candidates? And so I think that's where the focus is going to be. And another poll said that 1/3 of these voters believe that these presidential debates could and will change their minds. So when you have such a tight margin in these polls, every single vote matters. And I think it's going to matter in this case.
Is the over-under 100 million, do you think?
I mean, that would be incredible. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, we saw significant interest from voters, Republicans and non-Republicans, in the primary debates, particularly on the Republican side, because of the participation of Donald Trump. Whatever you think about him, whatever you think about his policies or lack of policies, people want to see what's going on. People believe that Donald Trump makes things interesting. It's why he had ratings for The Apprentice. It's why I think he helped bring in ratings for the Republican debate.
The previous record, Dave, was 1980, and that was roughly about 80 million. But remember, there was only one debate that cycle, and it was really kind of close to the election. Ronald Reagan there and Jimmy Carter. I think you're looking at a situation where you could see much more than that.
Absolutely, and I think the first 30 minutes are going to be so key. I mean, I was looking at the ratings. People fall off and that second half of the debate. They start to click around their TV. So I think our impressions, the media impressions, and the voters' impressions will be made on that first 30 minutes and what kind of temperament both candidates show on that stage.
And whether the Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints fans stick around for the whole debate.
So true.
That game is opposite that. Final thing here, the backdrop of what these questions could be. You know, obviously Charlotte, the release of this police video today, both campaigns weighed in on that, were asked about it today. Take a listen to Mike Pence and Joe Bennett.
We need to step away from efforts by Hillary Clinton and others to paint law enforcement in this country with the broad brush of racial bias. Donald Trump and I don't believe that law enforcement in this country is a force for racism or division.
The police say that Keith Scott was armed. Well, right now they say that. Have they said their video shows that clearly? I think we ought to wait for the end of the full investigation.
So, you know, it's dealing with this explosive situation, how both candidates are handling.
Right, and it's very difficult to give a simple solution to a very complicated problem. And you do see that in this political environment, they're taking sides to a certain extent. You see the Trump campaign looking more at being very supportive of law enforcement. You see Hillary Clinton really saying we've added 2 more names to black men who have been killed by police officers. So these political solutions, I think, are dangerous because of the mere fact that race relations in this country are deteriorating right now, and I think it's very impactful.
And politically, Dave, I mean,
I think it will be a top topic for both these candidates to address, and I think there'll be a stark divide. I think for Trump, it'll be interesting if he doubles down on the stop and frisk proposal that he said that should be implemented in Chicago, and also screening. That's, you know, he said that needs to be done. Profiling. That's the policy he wants to implement. He hasn't detailed exactly how he would do that or what standard he would use, but I think that will be drilled upon tomorrow night.
But that law and order pitch, does it play certain states? Does this issue divide perhaps other states that perhaps wouldn't have been involved had it not been for this evolution of these incidents?
Yeah, I think it does. I think if he sticks to a general law and order pitch and says we've got to show greater respect for law enforcement, it's not the case that that there's this rash of law enforcement running around looking to shoot African Americans, as you might conclude if you were just listening to Black Lives Matter. But at the same time, if he goes too far in the details, talking about some of the policies that Dave mentioned that Trump has proposed or advocated in the past, I think he risks alienating those same suburban women voters that he so desperately needs.
90 minutes, it's tough not to get into detail.
Especially when it's just one-on-one. I mean, one of the things that I think Trump was able to do in the primary debates, because there were so many people up on stage, is avoid getting into details. So you ask him about anything, and he would say, well, I'm going to make great deals, and our politicians are stupid, and that's his answer. You can't get away with that for 90 minutes.
Mercedes?
Oh, I agree. I think it's going to be the unpredictability factor. That is why I think we're going to see so many people watch the debate, because for Donald Trump, he's going to need to explain not only the overall vision, but there will be a need to go into a bit of detail without getting lost in the weeds. This is where Hillary Clinton gets into trouble. She gets too much in the weeds, and then she appears too wonky. So it will be, but I think what people are going to be looking at is subjective, body language, demeanor, temperament. They want to see if these 2 individuals can be presidential, and that's going to be the key.